Okay, I have a normal length video now that I have my regular software about how to go through Excel for this lab. Here is the lab data. This is your first sheet on your Excel spreadsheet. I added in a group 11 that we'll work through. The first thing I'm going to do is highlight this data and select it. Now, the act of finding out your population will be a very similar to finding out your sample information. So I'm just going to go through the sample information. I'm going to need to post that data in here. Now, let's say I want to organize this data so that I can find the median a little bit easier. You can highlight that data. It's already in there, and go to Sort Smallest to Largest. Expand the selection, and now it's in the right order. If I want to find my mode, it's going to be a little bit easier. Here it's going to be a 5. You may or may not have a mode. My median, since I have 10 data values, is going to be right in between the 6th and 7th in this row, because I'm actually starting at 2, so it's between the 5th and the 6th. Again, it's another 5. You might have something different if your values don't match. And I'm going to want to find the average. Well, the average is all of the numbers added together, so highlight it plus one more and hit auto sum. And that is going to be equal to that value divided by 10, because that's how many I had. So 4.2, now I want all of these values to be whole numbers since you can't roll a 4.2 on the dice. So I'm just going to highlight that, go up to this number and decrease the value to 4. Or you can just go ahead and do it by hand after you find it out and go 4. Now, the range is the highest number minus the lowest number, so that's a 5. The mid-range is to add the two together. 6 plus 1 is 7. Mid-range will be a 3.5. Now it's time to talk about standard deviation and our variance. I'm going to start with the variance because that's going to be a lot easier to find. Remember, your variance is going to be this sum, so I need to use my x minus x bar, which is my mean. So this column is going to be equal to that number minus my average, which was a 4. Hit enter, and now I can highlight that, and when that, see how that went from a big cross to a skinny one? When it goes skinny, left click, hold it down and drag. It will find all of those values. Now I need to square. So this squared column is going to be equal to this number times itself, because that's what it means to be squared. Hit enter, drag down. Now to start this variance, I'm going to need to add all of this up. And that number is going to need to be divided by 1 less than however many data values I have. I have 10, so let's divide it by 9. That is my variance. I'm going to need to take the square root of this number. Now you can either put this in your calculator, 2.8888, and take the square root, or I can go up here and say, let this be equal to this square root, which is SQR, open parentheses of that number, close parentheses, that's an I6, not a 16, and hit enter. And now I have all my values. Not very exciting, right? So now that's all filled out. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight this data again, because I now need to go to my box plot. The population is going to be there automatically. This is the box plot, or the box and whiskers, upside down or vertical for your entire population. Here's your minimum. Here's your first quarter, your median, your third quarter, your maximum. You can see all that data in here. You can also see your IQR, which is your interquartile range, which is Q3 minus Q1. So 5 minus 2, 3. You would use that to find any upper or lower outliers, and you can see this very complex situation in there. That is not would not be the formula that we would use. but it will pop up if there's any upper or lower outliers. There's none for the population. There may or may not be for your group. Go to the yellow, highlight it, paste that data in, and yours is going to pop up. Now look, this is very interesting. For my data, even though I have the same minimum and the same maximum, you see how my little bar is not in here? My median's not in there. That means that my median in one of these ranges is the same, and there it is. My median in my third quartile is actually the same, so they're both on here. So that's a big difference between. Now, I didn't have any outliers. If I did have an outlier, let me toss a 10 in here, you would see that that outlier would pop up. And it would take that out of my data before I'm figuring out all that information. If I had one on the other direction, well, I don't really know if I'm going to be able to do that. How about, I don't know, -5? Would it do it? Yeah. And it brings it all the way down here. Now all you have to do, because you're probably not going to have any outliers either, is compare these two. What makes it the same? What makes it different? Why do you think that is? You have a lot of different things that could happen in there. Not really looking for right or wrong, just something that makes sense or doesn't make sense. And that is how you can go ahead and use Excel to finish this project.